Good evening and welcome to the October 21st meeting of the Glenville Town Board. Please rise for the invocation and pledge allegiance. Please join me in prayer. Dear Lord, we ask you to give us all around peace in our mind, body, soul, and spirit. We want you to heal and remove everything that is causing stress, grief, and sorrow in our lives. Please guide our path through life and make our enemies be at peace with us. Let your peace reign in our family, at our place of work, our businesses, and everything we lay our hands on. We ask this in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll.
Councilman Martin?
Here.
Councilman Pittleton?
Here.
Councilman Boulon?
Here.
Councilwoman Worzbowski?
Here.
Supervisor Ketzley?
Here, we have these things up here. I want to blow you guys out. We have agendas up front. We have a variety of public hearings to get through first, and then as you'll see, if you have an agenda, we have two add-ons after new business. So after item number 21, we have an add-on, which will be scheduling a public hearing for November 4th, which is our next board meeting. And then we have a resolution authorizing the supervisor to enter into a stipulation of discontinuance with the Schenectady County lawsuit against the town of Glenville. So with that, we'll start on the next item on the agenda, which is town council reports. And I'll start on my left with Councilman Boulon.
Nothing this evening, Mr. Supervisor.
Councilwoman Worzbowski.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, I just would like to advise all of the residents that the information for the 2015 Fall Loose Leaf Program has been posted on the town's highway webpage. If you have any questions, you can contact the highway department, but you can go onto the website and click on the highway department's page that they have listed there and see where they are and where they're going. I believe they're going to try and make as many passes as possible before the snow flies. The leaves seem to be sticking to the trees really well, so they're starting now and trying to get a jump on it. So check the website and they'll be around to pick up your leaves. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Martin.
Yeah, just a report on a couple of meetings I've been to since the last meeting of the board. Went to a meeting of the Small Business and Economic Development Committee. They've worked their way all the way through the section of the comp plan, providing their notes on to the staff and to the committee overseeing the development of the comp plan. And they're also starting to set their agenda items for 2016 and planning for our event in April. So they set the date for that. It's the third Thursday in April again for the Let's Talk Business event. And then the other meeting I attended was the Residents Advisory Committee to the comp plan. That was Monday evening. And they're working their way through each section of the plan. Kevin and Mike are working diligently on drafting it. They're passing their draft on to the committee, and they're on a schedule to have their work complete by June. So we're getting there.
Thank you. Councilman Pittleton.
Yes, I attended the meeting last night with DEC with Supervisor Ketzley with respect to the water being brought into Sunnyside Road and Sunnyside Gardens. They did an excellent job in the presentation, and I'm sure the supervisors are going to talk about it, but they have great contact with the residents, and it looks like that they were going to start actually in the next 2 weeks, and then they'll break for the winter and should be done in the spring.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, we'll open a public hearing, and we have a series of these, 5 in fact, so we'll go through 5. Anyone who wishes to be heard on the specific public hearing that we open can raise their hand, come to the podium, and speak at that time. So we will start by opening the first public hearing, to consider any objections which may be made to the assessment roll for Water District number 11 and extensions number 1 through 46. Public hearing is now open. Anyone wish to be heard on that matter? Going once, going twice, seeing none, that public hearing is now closed. The next public hearing we have scheduled is to consider hearing any objections which may be made to the assessment roll for Sewer District 9 and Woodcrest Sewer Extension. That public hearing is now open. Anyone wish to be heard? Going once, going twice, seeing none, that public hearing is now closed. The next public hearing is a public hearing to consider any objections which may be made to the assessment roll for Acorn Drive Sewer District and Woodhaven Sewer District. The public hearing is now open. Anyone wish to be heard on that matter? Going once, going twice, seeing none, that public hearing is now closed. Next public hearing is a public hearing to consider any objections which may be made to the assessment roll for the All Clause Sewer District 1 and extension number. They left me hanging, it says number one. Number one, we got that from the water department. So extension number 1. Anyone wish to be heard, that public hearing is now open. Anyone wish to be heard on that matter? Going once, going twice, seeing none, that public hearing is now closed. The last public hearing of the evening is a public hearing to consider hearing all interested parties regarding the unsafe property at 1644 Rector Road. The public hearing is now open. Anyone wish to be heard on that matter? Going once, going twice, seeing none, that public hearing is now closed. We now move to privilege of the floor, which is item number 10. We do have someone signed up here. What we'll do is we'll start with the sheet. If you wish to be heard at privilege of the floor, just raise your hand. We'll ask you to come to the podium, just like the public hearing, and address the board. But the person we do have on the sheet is Timothy Gaffney.
Good evening. Timothy Gaffney from 18 Mayfair Drive. Just want to let you know, with me being a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, I was able to go to a workshop through Capital District, something, I'm sorry. But,
Planning?
No, but they were on planning and zoning. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I got caught up with the R
Right.
in there. Yeah, regional. That's it. No, it was a good workshop. It was my first workshop, and no, it was very informative. The one thing that did throw me off was when they started talking about climate change and how they had data going all the way back to 600,000 years with the CO2 emissions. And I was going to raise my hand and ask, how does Socrates and Plato do with the sundial? But I was well behaved. I bit my tongue for that part. So, well, regardless, everything else was well informed with the solar power and everything else that has to do with the planning and zoning, with what's going on with the NY Sun $1 billion taxpayer funded project on trying to get towns to go up to code with solar regulations, try and make the process easier for permits and such. So with that being said, what I did was was able to get a packet, and I just want to pass on the packet to you, the town board, so this way at your workshops or in between, you can check it out. There's also websites, phone numbers that you can contact people on just to kind of get yourself educated. So this way, with the introduction of solar panels, it is a way of the future. It's going to be more and more prevalent, especially around this area. It's going to be taken advantage of. I know personally because we are handling solar panels on a case-by-case basis with the zoning board. So it's a new thing. It's a new beast, but it's a good beast. But again, it's gotta be careful with how we zone things and try to welcome into the neighborhood, because yes, some can be an eyesore, some are better off being, say, in the backyard, but some things can't be in the backyard. Some are better being on the roof, some can't be on the roof, some might have to be on the front yard. But again, those are different ideas, different plans that we have to go through. So just want to pass this along.
Thank you, Tim.
Other than that, that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else wish to be heard at privilege of the floor? Going once, going twice, seeing none, privilege of the floor is now closed. So that will move on to the supervisor's comments to the board.
You got too much paper.
Too much, well, most of it's the budget, so I'm not going to go over that too much. Just a summary. So just quickly, a few updates. I think Councilman Piprovani already mentioned the DEC meeting we had last night. We've had with Dana and Tom Coppola and our staff meeting with them pretty regularly now as we're getting closer to the project. And Councilman Piprovani is absolutely right. They've been wonderful to work with, very professional. They've been doing great work on outreach with our residents. They keep us informed. it's really been a good relationship, and I think they're happy with, they praised our staff last night and all the work. I think they said, correct me if I'm wrong, that this town was the easiest town that he's ever worked with. And I thought that was nice, so I appreciate our staff helping on this. It's such an important project. It is 99 homes in the Sunnyside Gardens and Sunnyside Road area. That last home, that 100th home, they could not get to sign on, so they're moving on without that. So it's 99 homes. The schedule, as the councilman pointed out, will begin this month. Within the next 2 weeks or so, you'll start seeing contractor trailer equipment being set up at a staging area down on Sunnyside, and they'll work through December installing the 8-inch and 12-inch water mains, and there'll be 2 separate crews, one on Sunnyside Road and one for Sunnyside Garden. Of course, as you know, Sunnyside Garden are town roads, Sunnyside Road is a county road. There's different requirements. We seem to have been a little bit easier with working with DEC to allow them to work in our right-of-way. The county was not, and that's going to create a little bit of a problem for some of the residents because it's going to shift the project onto their property much further, and it's going to require, as you've probably seen, the trees, they have pink ribbons around them right now. It's going to require the trees to come down on Sunnyside because the county won't allow them to work in the right-of-way. DEC is committed to putting back trees if the residents want the trees back. Obviously, they won't be these old oaks and mature, but they did say mature trees. They will not be little seedlings. They will put in mature trees and work with the residents on what they want replaced. They anticipate a shutdown in December, but that will be weather dependent. If there's no snow and they can keep going, they'll go. Spring and summer of 2016, they will then get to the individual house connections through the spring and summer of 2016 and start restoration work in midsummer, and then be done by August of 16. So we have this PowerPoint, which they're not allowed to put on the website. It's DEC policy, but we can share it with you. And I'll scan it in and send it to everybody so you have what to expect. But it's a great project going forward, and we're excited and we're looking forward. I think the residents were pretty happy too yesterday. No complaints out of the crowd. So that's moving along. Speaking of water, I think as you all know, I don't think we announced it here yet, maybe we did, but Senator Farley gave the town a grant for $250,000 to be used for safeguarding our water. One of the things Jason, Tom, and I got together on, we're waiting some official word from our environmental commission on recommendations. But it appears that we have enough funds to do about 5 projects off that list. And that's really most of them, except for that 5th well, which is extremely expensive, and we don't have the funds for that right now. But it looks like we'll be able to do the plant interconnections. We'll update, the updated manual has already been done, I've been told by Deputy Commissioner Dana Gilgore. We'll install monitoring wells, raise the well heads, and construct a retaining wall. That will bring us through much of what we need to do to protect the water supply. So, you know, thank the senator. I think it was a generous grant. I think it's one of the bigger grants he's given out of his funds. So I think that speaks about what he thinks about Glenville, and I think what he thinks about protecting water, which is very, very important. I had an opportunity to be part of the Burn Hills Centennial Celebration, where we dedicated the new field at Homecoming up there. Got to cut the ribbon on it, and a beautiful field. They unveiled the new scoreboard, beautiful facilities up there, major upgrades in the Burn Hills High School. Stayed for the game. They went on to win their homecoming game pretty handily. A good team this year, and it was a great event. The school district has been very good with us, so I was glad that they allowed me to be part of that. Let's see, Vicki is here from the Senior Center. I had a chance to meet with the board at the Senior Center. We're continuing to talk about ideas on the proposed expansion, what they can do to find funds. One of the things is we were going to approach Senator Farley. That we talked about that 2 days before this came. So I don't know if we're going to approach Senator Farley right now, but we're going to try to help find some funds to make that work, outside funds. but they're still looking at their options, and the meeting was productive. Tomorrow, I think it's on all your calendars, you should have got the email, Bellamy's is having a ribbon cutting. By the look in your eyes, you didn't get, you got it? Okay, you guys didn't get it, you got it. All right, so half of you got it, we're okay with that. But, Bellamy's is doing like a 40th anniversary
Yeah, it's 40th anniversary re-grand opening.
at 4?
It's 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock at Bellamy's.
Almost enough sleep.
I know I sent it out, but maybe I got,
I got it separately from the chamber as well.
oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Couple quick things on all of my favorite topic, the budget. One of the things I wanted to clarify was there was some talk recently about, the word was raiding the water fund. And I just want to, when you hear these crazy things, you got to kind of set things straight. We went back and we looked, at least almost 10 years, there has not been a change to the interdepartmental charges that are charged to the water fund for administrative and other duties that relate to, just like we had this discussion about A fund, B fund, and what you have to charge because certain work is being done for certain reasons in certain funds, you charge departments for work performed. For example, if highway department fixes a police car, as you all know, the highway department charges the police department, that's an interdepartmental fund, into the highway budget. Just to an outsider, it may appear that there's money being circulated, but it's the way you keep your books in order that this has to go back and forth. So this interdepartmental charge is not only legal and appropriate and necessary and right, but it's been flat. So this new sense of rating for 10 years. And it hasn't changed. And I don't know why someone would characterize it as raiding the fund, unless they're being purposely trying to mislead people. And that's upsetting, but it is an interdepartmental charge. It is legal, appropriate, and correct to do. And it has not changed. And everything is accounted for in the transfer, as it should be. So I wanted to set that straight before we got into the budget, which we'll talk a little bit as we move to the tentative budget shortly. But I wanted to update also some numbers Jason provided on the mortgage tax and CPI, because obviously we're always looking a little bit ahead. I know we're dealing with this budget, but we have to start looking ahead too for future budgets. And Jason received the September 2015 mortgage revenue, which is the final month of the 2015 budget. And our final net mortgage revenues for 2015 appear to be, after the village takes their cut and the county takes their cut, $514,000, which is off from our budget of $525,000. So we were down, we anticipated that all year, and we prepared and dealt with that correctly. Our tentative budget we'll be dealing with tonight is budgeted at $515,000. That's part of the challenges we dealt with in this budget. We reduced by $10,000 what we think we'll get in 2016. Let's hope we don't continue to see the slide. Let's hope that stops there. The September 2015 CPI was also released the other day, which is our third month of the 2017 budget year. Okay, so again, we're watching this every month, so we start to get an idea of where we're going with it. And it is early, but it is one quarter now that has been reported for 2017. If this were to continue for the next 3 quarters, our tax cap would be 0.1%, not 1%, 0.1%, which equates roughly to about a $10,000 increase in spending in 2017. So it's a good thing that we're looking at some things very seriously here this year to prepare us for next year, which will roll us into the future. Obviously, this is a process that we continue to build on, and hopefully we'll have the resources at that time to deal with that. Want to talk just a little bit, because you guys have already been through all this. Our overall proposed tax levy for 2016, which again, we heard a lot of crazy numbers recently, and there's some people that just can't get math. I understand that. I've never been good at math myself, but I do understand a 2% tax cap and the fact that we've never broken it for X amount of years. doesn't lead to a 35% levy increase. It leads to what we're talking about here tonight, which is a 0.45%. That's for the people that have a hard time with that, that's less than 0.5% levy increase, which equates to about 12 cents per average house in the town of Glenville. Per year, 12 cents. We call that essentially a flat tax. I mean, there's really no movement on the tax levy. I think this board's very, very proud of that. Obviously, we'll get the property tax freeze credit, so the good news for our residents is they're getting the 12 cents back in a check coming from the state of New York because we, A, achieved our efficiency goals, and B, we got under the tax cap. So that's coming back. Quick things to remember, we utilized less fund balance. Some people are confused about that as well. We've gone from a $1.4 million allocation 6 years ago by a former administration down to $550,000, about a 60% reduction in use of fund balance. We continue to try to cut that back more and more, but with the tax cap that becomes more and more difficult. Things I think I'm most proud of is we've cut our town debt load by $6 million over 6 years since we've had this administration in place. That's helped us tremendously, and we absorbed obviously the healthcare costs and the accrued leave time payouts that are in this budget we anticipate happening in 2016. We did leave money in there for 2 police cars, which I think is important. We've got our contractual raises with the PBA, the CSEA, and management, and also with highway, so all the raises are absorbed in this as well. We increased funding for highway equipment, road, salt, and tree trimming, so highway has seen actually an increase in the budget in those lines. And we continue to improve our technology infrastructure with our 2016 goals of implementing a new financial system and new telephone system. Now, you always want to compare to other like communities, and so the most like communities we can compare to are Rotterdam and Niskayuna. They're our sister towns, and we're very similar in many ways. And when you look at our 0.45, less than 0.5% again for some people who are troubled with math, Rotterdam is almost 2%. Almost 2%. We're just with, by the way, their brush fee, that we didn't implement a new fee. They implemented a new fee. And when you look at our friends right over here in Niskayuna, almost 4% levy increase in the town of Niskayuna. So I want to say that obviously it's been a difficult year for towns, but this board has done tremendous work in making sure that we're cutting the cost of delivering services, but also making it so that the town government is affordable for our residents. I shared with each of you, and I won't read the email because it's an email from a resident, who I don't know who it is, but a resident wrote to us and thanked us for that, indicating that she can't absorb another dollar in new taxes. She hasn't gotten a raise. She works as a nurse. She hasn't gotten a raise in 5 years, and she just can't absorb it. We hear that across the town over and over again. So I want to say that the work that you guys have done on this has been tremendous. I think it's very much appreciative. I think that it's helping people out there who are having a hard time struggling, and I want to thank you for all your hard work on it. With that, any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. We'll go right back to the agenda, which is item number 12, a resolution amending the tentative budget and adopting it as a preliminary budget for 2016, and to schedule a public hearing on the 2016 preliminary budget for November 4th, 2015 at 7 p.m. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. I'm talking about anything, I'll drink. Now, just for point of discussion, this is obviously a move to the tentative budget from the preliminary, which I filed with the town clerk on September 29th. The tentative budget was presented to the members of the town board at the regular meeting held on October 7th, and the town board has had the opportunity to discuss the tentative budget and any potential changes, alterations, or revisions, and that was consistent with law. The tentative budget was modified by the town board, once modified, shall become the preliminary budget, if at all, which is section 108 of town law. Does require a public hearing be held by the board on this preliminary budget on or before the Thursday immediately following the general election. So this tentative budget is presented hereby adopted as the 2016 preliminary budget with this resolution, and the town board will hold a public hearing on November 4th at 7 o'clock here in this room to hear all those interested in the preliminary budget before it becomes final. And be resolved, the town clerk is hereby directed to prepare the proper notices. The town clerk will also have 25 copies produced of the preliminary budget for public distribution, and another 25 copies if the need arises. Any questions or comments on this matter?
Mr. Supervisor, I would just like to commend the whole board for the work that was put into it. We got hit pretty hard the other night from some people who haven't attended any of the work sessions, any of our board meetings, any of the budget hearings, and in a public forum spoke. I got to be careful because I'm not very eloquent on words, but they were out of their minds. And you know, there's no gimmicks. We don't raid the water fund. We don't charge for services like most of the other municipalities. So I got to say, Glenville's pretty much a model of how town government should be run, quite frankly.
Absolutely.
I also want to echo those thoughts, and anything, this was a monumental task this year, given the status of the cap being at, I think it was 0.7, and we're even under that.
Yeah.
7.3 or something like that. And it was a monumental task, and anything like this that, you know, requires that kind of effort, requires a team effort. And I want to thank the department heads and Jason. They did a great job in starting the process. Certainly the other board members here, this is something we take extremely seriously. These are very valuable dollars, as was indicated by the one resident who can't even afford, you know, another dollar of tax increase. So there's a lot of good things in this budget. It's something we all take very seriously. And I'm proud to stay under the tax cap in the fashion we have and still delivering the services we are. As a matter of fact, I reviewed, as you see, some of you saw in an email I sent earlier today, I reviewed some of the budgets around the state. City of Schenectady raises more in fees than they do in real property tax. So, in fees.
It's a nice trick.
It's like $30 million a year in fees and $28 million a year in real property tax or something like that. So, yeah, again, this is a very, very tight budget, very efficient, and a lot of people are to be thanked for this.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, I'd also like to say thank you very much to everybody that worked on this budget. I would also like to point out that this budget was brought in well under the tax cap after we settled 2 additional contracts with 2 of our represented entities. And I would like to thank the employees for working in partnership with us to come to a resolution that you know, was difficult to come to, but I think that they have faith in the town and they serve the residents well. And I think that they deserve a thank you as well for working in partnership with us to come to agreements and to keep us on a fiscally sound footing.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Well, I certainly echo everybody's sentiments here on the town board, but also I'd just like to add too that this continues our streak ever since the inception of the 2% tax cap, that we've never gone over it, so I'm pretty proud of that too.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Pittavani?
Yes.
Councilman Durant?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next resolution, resolution issuing a negative declaration. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Moved and second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, this is a resolution that provides a negative declaration on the environmental assessment of rezoning what has been referred to as the Alplos Kill natural area and the Anderson property in the Christiana natural area, all town-owned open space areas from suburban residential to public park lands. It involves 6 parcels totaling just over 92 acres, and this is the negative declaration, which means that we're finding no adverse environmental impact from this action.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please report the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Pittavani?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next resolution, a resolution approving the zoning map amendment application to change the zoning of the Falls Kill Natural Area. Do I have a motion?
I'll move
Do I
it.
have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, this is the resolution that takes the final action on the aforementioned rezoning, again of 6 parcels totaling just over 92 acres.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Pittavani?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next resolution 15, appointing Howard Conover to a new position. Do I have a motion?
So
Do I
moved.
have a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, this resolution is in connection with Howard Conover, who is presently employed by the town of Belleville as a maintenance helper full-time. Since this appointment, Mr. Conover has proven to be a reliable and efficient employee. There currently exists a vacancy in the position of maintenance worker, and Mr. Conover has demonstrated the skills and abilities necessary for that position. The Commissioner of Public Works has recommended that Mr. Conover be appointed to the vacant position of maintenance worker, and the appointment of Mr. Conover to this position can be met within the existing appropriations of the 2015 amended budget. This resolution would then therefore provisionally appoint Howard Conover of 3 James Street, Scotia, New York, to the position of maintenance worker effective November 1st, 2015, at a starting rate for such title of $33,871.36 per year, and benefits as determined by the CSA agreement with the town.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
I would just like to say I've heard nothing but great things about Mr. Conover. I hear that everyone is very happy to have him here in Town Hall. He's responsive to our needs and does a fantastic job. So, thank you very much.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to work closely this week. In fact, I think 3 times we've crossed paths on different things. And Tom, I've had the opportunity of talking with often about what a great job Rob has done for the town, and I want to thank him for that and appreciate all his hard work. You know, I got to say, you should be proud of yourself. I think you've been with us 9 months, and we've moved you along pretty nicely because of the work you've done for us, and we appreciate that. And I don't think it happens very often, but I think it's something to be proud of. So congratulations, and thank you for all the work you do. Anyone else have any comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Pittavani?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 16, to extend the application deadline for the Ready Fund. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, this is a resolution that extends the deadline of the Revitalization Economic Development Investment Fund. This has been one of our cornerstone programs of our economic development initiatives. As you all recall, in the last year, we had a business enhancement grant program, and we set a date for the closing of applications. Well, this extends that application. We've had that application deadline. We've had some further interest. And just to remind everybody, the program provides a 25% town funding match up to $5,000 for businesses interested in improving the appearance of their building. So this extends that extends that grant deadline to November 16th, Monday, November 16th at 5 p.m. And it also reaffirms the town planning staff as the administrators over this program.
Excellent. Any questions or comments? I just want to say this has been a great program for the town and for the small businesses. People talk a lot about what are you doing for small businesses. It isn't just all about the big boxes and the chains, and that's absolutely correct. This town board and this town and our staff and our volunteers are very dedicated to the small businesses and trying to help them. And this is one of the programs that allows us to give our small businesses some help, to beautify, to buy a new sign, to attract business, to do something. Today it's a tough struggle for everybody, so I'm proud of the program, and I think it's been pretty successful. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Pittavani?
Yes.
Councilman Blulat?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 17, establishing a drainage and park district. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and second, any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, this is a local law regulating the use of the return park and drainage district property. The town board of the town of Glenville created a park and drainage district on a residential real estate development known as the return. While the park and drainage district property principally provides passive recreational areas and stormwater drainage and retention areas, the residents of the return expressed a desire to have an organization to interact with and make suggestions and recommendations to town officials regarding the maintenance and improvement of the park and the drainage districts. The town is authorized to create a resident advisory committee for such purpose, and the town board desires to create such a committee to be known as the Return Park and Drainage District Advisory Committee. Wow. Consisting of 5 members, all of whom shall be residents of the district for 1-year terms on a calendar year basis who serve without compensation. The residents of the return have nominated 5 individuals to serve as the inaugural members of such committee. Be resolved that the town board of the town of Glenville hereby establishes the Return Park and Drainage District Advisory Committee, and that town board hereby appoints Jerry Vine, 10 Miracle Lane, Larry Rosenbaum, 6 Miracle Lane, Bill Hawkins, 17 Praise Lane, Jenny Littman, 21 Praise Lane, and Joe Vitale, 41 Joyce Lane, all members of the new district. I'd also like to thank Dick Eustace, who's hiding back there in the back corner, who's been a dedicated volunteer for many of the functions and needs, and kind of was the spearhead to help get this committee to going, so everybody in the return's on the same page.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Pittavani?
Yes.
Councilman Blulat?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 18, authorizing the renewal of a contract with the Glenville Town Limited Partnership. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Just for discussion, just to read part of the resolution, the town currently is a party to a tax-exempt agreement with the Glenville Town Limited Partnership concerning a 32-unit senior housing project known as Glenville Terrace on Saratoga Road, not Schenectady Road, in the town, and is authorized by Section 125 of the Private Housing Finance Law. The current agreement is set to expire, and the developer of that has requested the town to renew the tax-exempt agreement for an additional 15 years, which is permitted by Section 125 of that Private Housing Finance Law. And the town has met with the developers and its representatives and has reviewed the application for possible alternatives, finding that due to the application of the Real Property Tax Law Section 581A to this low moderate income housing project, the town would be better served by extending this agreement than not. So this is, in layman's terms, our best deal. This would extend it by 15 years, authorize the supervisor to sign the agreement, which is attached, and that's really about it. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please report the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Pittavani?
Yes.
Councilman Blulat?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 19, amending the original warrant for Water District 11. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. As you all know, that when we do the water warrant, there are often some corrections, technical corrections. We have both Jason and Kathy from the water department here. But generally speaking, these are either clerical errors or, the big one, which is already pointed out, number 40. No, I'm sorry, number 36, the 51,000 was just a decimal error placement. So a customer will get a bill, it'll be incorrect, we have to correct it. And that's really what these all are. And every year we go through this. Anything stand out, or anyone have any specific questions on any item? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Pittavani?
Yes.
Councilman Blulat?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski? Rosbowski.
Yes.
Supervisor Ketzler.
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 20, approving the monthly departmental reports. Do I have a motion?
So
Do I
moved.
have a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, this is to approve the monthly departmental reports for September of 2015. The Assessor, Building Department, Economic Development and Planning, Highway Public Works, Justice, Police, Receiver of Taxes, Section 8 for August and September in the Town Clerk's Office.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin.
Yes.
Councilman Pipavani.
Yes.
Councilman Blount.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosbowski.
Yes.
Supervisor Ketzler.
I am going to vote no. And I'll just explain my vote that I have not seen all these reports. I may have missed them. I did search for them today and I could not find them in my email, at least 2 of them. And so I'm going to vote no until I get copies of those reports. Motion passes, and we'll move on to our add-on, which people will go to new business afterwards. We have 2 add-ons to take care of. One is a resolution scheduling a public hearing for Wednesday, November 4th here regarding a drainage district. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Do I have any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, this is a resolution to establish a date for a public hearing with regard to a petition requesting a drainage district be established for 11 parcels located on Victoria Court in Park Ridge Estate subdivision in the town of Glenville. This meeting would be scheduled, or the public hearing would be scheduled for November 4th, 2015 at 7 p.m. here at Town Hall.
Hopefully we don't have to put an advisory committee together for it too. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin.
Yes.
Councilman Pipavani.
Yes.
Councilman Blount.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosbowski.
Yes.
Supervisor Ketzler.
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 2, authorizing the supervisor to enter into a stipulation of discontinuance with the county of Schenectady discontinuing the county's action against the town. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. I think we all know that this item centers around the UCC, which is an agreement between all municipalities in Schenectady County, all towns, city, village, and county. There was a delay in the town paying the share of the UCC operating expense, which was billed for 2014, as the comptroller was unable to verify that all the costs presented were properly charged to the town due to incomplete information provided by the county. And whereas the county, without filing any notice of claim or otherwise notifying the town of its intent to file a lawsuit against the town for that delayed payment, and whereas the attorney of the town submitted a motion to dismiss the county's actions, asserting a number of affirmative defenses and deficiencies in the county's pleadings, including the defense that the action was barred by the UCC agreement arbitration clause. In other words, the county needed to first notice the town that they were looking to arbitrate this matter, which is in the agreement. How an attorney for the county misses that, I do not know. But the county has now agreed to discontinue its actions, I think realizing that they had no standing, against the town, agrees to provide the town with all necessary information to ascertain the actual amount due for the town, from the town to the county for the 2014, and agrees to provide the town with regular quarterly financial reports on the UCC operations, expenses, and in exchange, the town agrees to make a partial payment, the payment of the undisputed portion of the UCC bill, until we receive all the information needed to pay the entire bill. This resolution authorizes the supervisor to enter into the stipulation of discontinuance, which is already signed by the county, and the terms, and I think it might be attached. If it's not attached, the stipulation, it says it's attached. Mine isn't, but maybe yours is. If not, we'll get you a copy of it. Well, I sent, I'm sorry.
It was in our
Yeah,
email.
you already got it. Linda and I did talk about that. So that's really the long and short of it. Any questions or comments on that?
Well, I'll comment. I'm happy to see that we're now been absolved of this frivolous, baseless, and highly flawed lawsuit. And I'll just say, maybe the county attorney's office can spend a little less time trying to calculate tax levies and do a little more time, paying attention to their lawsuits, and maybe they might do better next time.
Well, there's a lot of them over there, Jim. Yeah.
Well, yes, and at quite a cost too. I'm $1.1 million. If anybody would like to look in the county budget and know the cost of the county attorney's office.
What I'm struck by is that what Jason and I have asked for over a year, all of a sudden now is available after they bring a frivolous lawsuit. So we're right back to where we should have been
Exactly.
over a year ago without any of the cost involved in any of this ruckus. So it just seems, it strikes me as very odd, and it seems like it might be amateur hour over there at the county, but I can't explain it, but it turned out well for us. We're absolved, as you say. So, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record your vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Pittavani?
Yes.
Councilman Delotte?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Ketzley?
Yes, resolution passes. Last item on the agenda is new business. I'll start on my left with Councilman Delotte.
Mr. Supervisor, we did debate the other night. There were some things that were said that, you guys know me, I take things personally because of how we all put our heart and soul into this for little to no pay, aside from the full-time supervisor, which we all 100% agreed is the right thing to do for the community. But for people to think that this board just rubber stamps and is a pawn of the supervisor is not only ignorant, but it's foolish. If they think that myself and the rest of us just kowtow to what your wishes are crazy. Number one, I think you can attest that you and I have had multiple meetings where they've had to have referees between the two of us. And that we've had executive sessions and even work sessions where it gets pretty heated. But one thing that we do is that we find a way to agree for what's best for the residents of this community. And what we don't want to be is like other municipalities that are a dog and pony show, like the previous administration that was here, where board meetings started at 7 o'clock and ended at 11:30 at night. So I took it personally. It's foolish, and I just had to acknowledge that because it was an insult to not only myself, but I think to the rest of us here on this board.
Thank you. There were a lot of insults that night, unfortunately, but appreciate that. Councilwoman Wozzachowski.
I would echo Councilman Bullock's comments, but I would also urge the residents, now that we're in the last 2 weeks before the election, if you're receiving mailers and information at your doorstep, I would just ask you to please look into it and really investigate the allegations that are going to come out against us. I feel that I personally can rest easy at night. Every decision I've ever voted for on this board has benefited the town in some way. I don't think it made everybody happy, but if I think I'm going to make 30,000 people happy every single time I vote yes or no up here, I'm fooling myself. And that's not a fair expectation to place on myself or on you, the residents. Every decision that I voted for has in my heart and soul, I have felt that I have done the best I could do. And when insulting mailers come to your doorstep and when insulting comments are made about us, I would just ask you to remember that we live here. We have kids that go to the schools here. We're part of this community as well. And we do truly have the best interest at heart. It's very hard to say that 5 people can truly speak for 30,000, but we do our level best. And we try to do it with respect for the residents, and we try to do it with the good intentions of the good of the entire town. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. That's perfect, because the tape just ran out.
No.
Great when it's done. Oh, it switched over. It's an automatic switch.
Oh, great.
Councilman Martin.
You all know how I feel, and I agree with both Alan and Gina. We take this responsibility up here very seriously. We constantly try and put ourselves in the position of the residents who have to pay for these services and what they expect from the town government. And we all live here, and I'm just very proud of what this board does. It's a hard-working group, and I just ask the residents to really consider when you see, you know, mailers that are gonna state, you know, 300% increases for a supervisor's salary and 34% increases in a tax rate. Just pause and consider what you actually see in the cost of town services and what actually you pay. And you're gonna find that that stuff does not bear out to be true. It's just a lot of political hyperbole, and it's unfortunate, you know, that things have to take that level, you know, and what should be a intellectual and high-level discussion of policy, and it boils down into these outright lies, and that's just unfortunate. I'm happy to be a part of this group. You know, we work very hard. We don't always agree, but we operate under a certain set of principles that we adhere to, and it's always for the best interest of the community.
Thank you. Councilman Pitlamani.
I'm not sure going last is the right thing. Maybe next time you can ask me to go first. You know, obviously, what's been said tonight is correct. We don't always agree on everything, but I can tell you when the decision comes out, it is definitely made in the best interest of the taxpayers of the town of Glenville. There's no doubt about that. And history will repeat itself. I am sure that you're going to get a numerous amount of flyers in the next 2 weeks. And again, hopefully you can weed out the ones that are mistruths. And you know, we stand by our record and what we've done and what we're going in a good direction, and we want to continue in that direction. And hopefully after November 4th, all of us will still be here. November 3rd, sorry, we'll all be here.
Thank you. I have one thing just to add, and I wasn't going to bring it up because I didn't really want to address it anymore. I think it's been really addressed ad nauseum, to be honest with you, but it came up here a couple times tonight, and what has not been talked about in this relationship with this full-time supervisor position is that it's not just the board saying this is a savings. The New York State Division of Budget, a state agency of the governor of the state of New York, has certified and approved that this is a savings to the taxpayers. The decision the board made in 2013 is a savings to the taxpayers. Now, people can say what they want. They can have an opinion if they wish, but they cannot create their own facts. They cannot deny that there's a savings and an efficiency that was made in this decision, just like every decision we have made. We filed an efficiency plan that gets our taxpayers their levy increases back, and part of that is the reorganization of the supervisor's office, which eliminated 2 positions and made the full-time supervisor 1. That is certified and approved by the state of New York. Anybody can say otherwise, they would be wrong. That's critical and that's important. It's an opinion they may have that they don't like it. I accept that and I respect that. But it is a matter of fact that they are wrong if they don't acknowledge it. So I just wanted to make sure everyone's clear. This is certified by the state of New York as a savings to the taxpayers, and that's why this is done this way. I hope that we can move on to more productive and positive and things that are important to the taxpayers at this point, but we'll see, maybe after November 3rd. That's all I wanted to add. Any other comments? Seeing none, a motion to...
It's been a long 16 years. Jason, you know what I'm going to say? Let's go Mets.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned.